Hello, dear friends. Well, now we will analyze and get the explanation of stanzas 24 and 26, 24 to 26 of the elegy written in a country churchyard by Thomas Gray. So, up to now, we have seen that the poet is describing about the poor people of that hamlet, about their life, about their fate, about their fortunes, about their uh, poverty, about their simplicity, and about their unfortunateness also. That is, he means to say that these poor guys could not develop themselves because of the chill penury and the lack of the opportunities. That they were not considered equal in the society and they were not provided the equal opportunity for their development. Although these guys were intelligent, one, their IQs were not less than others, and they could also become the great men like others. Then he also mocks and satires upon their graves, upon their tombs, because he finds the contrast, comparison, he finds the difference between the graves of the rich and the graves of the poor. So the graves of the rich have been or are in the inside the church, whereas the poor's graves are outside the church. Beautiful monuments and the beautiful inscriptions have been written on the rich graves, whereas only about death and birth of the poor guys have been written on their tombs, and no marble stones have been erected upon their tombs. The rough stones have been made there, and some unlettered or illiterate person might have written what is there here and there. In this way, he was absolutely talking about these poor guys. As I told you, that now the poet is talking about himself, because he also finds himself one of them. He thinks that he is one of them. So now he is talking about himself, and he says, he describes his habit, his attitude, and his actions as well as that what he used to do. So any person would inquire about, if inquire makes an inquiry about him, then the other swain or the shepherd might say like that. So the poet himself is questions and himself is answering. So he says, for thee, who mindful of the unhonored dead, dost in these lines their artless tale relate. If chance by lonely contemplation led, some kindred spirit shall inquire thy fate. So here we have for thee. So here thee has been used by the poet for himself. Who is here thee? The speaker or the poet himself. Who mindful of the unhonored death. So you who have been very concerning and mindful, very worried and concerning about of the unhonored dead, about those people who were not honored in their lives. Dost in these lines their artless tale relate, and therefore you have related, you have mentioned their natural story of these poor farmers, poor villagers who are not unhonored, who are not honored in their lives. So you have been. So he says to the speaker, and the speaker is himself, that for you who have been so mindful and concerning for these people who were not honored in their life, and about whom the story, about whom the history, about whom you have here relate the natural story. So if by chance, if chance by lonely contemplation led, so by chance some passerby would pass there and would look at the monuments, and by chance a contemplation led means a person who contemplates or makes the जिसको कहें अपन चिंतन करने वाला कोई जो लेड है, वो जब ये जानेगा किसके बारे में, कि भाई इन लोगों के बारे में जो है कि ये स्टोरी इस व्यक्ति ने रिलेट करी है, तो दैट पर्सन, दैट कंtemplation लेड would enquiry, would ask about the fate of the poet, about the fate of the speaker, कि what happened with the speaker who have mentioned, who have told such a natural story of these poor guys of this village. So some kindred spirit shall inquire. So some person who has kindred spirit, who has a kind spirit, will inquire about the fate of the speaker or the poet. He would try to know about the poet's life and as well as his achievements. So, by chance, if any person comes to know that the story of these villagers, poor villagers, have been written, have been mentioned by the speaker or the poet, he would definitely try to know about the fortune or the future of the poet, what the poet was and what happened to the poet then. Okay, so here this is what we have the explanation. Thee and thou, in fact, were the actually informal words, and they are used in order in an informal speech. So it makes sense that if the poet is addressing himself, he would use the more informal ways of doing so. So the poet has used for thee. So that he is aware. He is saying that he is aware, mindful means aware of the dead people who have not been honored with lots of the monuments. So he is memorizing them in these very lines of poetry. So here the speaker wonders that what would happen if some rendered kindred spirit who happened to be musing on similar things, that is a person who is also of the same kind, same nature, if he would come to know, then he would definitely inquire about the poet, that what happened with the poet, what were his achievements, and how his life was. So he may try to know about the life and achievements of the poet buried in the grave. So here the poet imagines himself to be buried in the same graveyard, there with these poor villagers, and something will be written on his grave, that is as an epitaph. Then in the next stanza we see, haply some hoary headed swain may say, oft have we seen him at the peep of dawn, brushing with hasty steps the dews away to meet the sun upon the plain lawn. So happily means probably by chance. By chance. So if the contemplation person, or if the person like the poet comes there and finds that the story of these poor villagers has been told or has been mentioned by the poet, then he would inquire about the fate of the poet. Okay, so what he will inquire, he will inquire about the poet. Then the answer, and who will answer? Happily some hoary-headed swain. Swain means here shepherd, or the passerby, or the farmer guy of the place. Happily some, by chance, some hoary-headed means some gray-haired farmer or the shepherd may reply that question, would reply that person, meditative person, what he would reply? He would say that often have we seen him at the peep of dawn. कि often they have seen the poet or the speaker early in the morning, at the peep of dawn means early in the morning, brushing with hasty steps, that is walking with the fast steps, the dews away, and brushing the dews away, clearing the dews away. That is in early in the morning, and brushing the dews from the grass. He would go hastily early in the morning. Where and why? To meet the sun, in order to see the sun, the first rays of the sun at the time of the dawn. Where? Upon the upland lawn, upon the hills. That is, that this swain will answer to that person when inquired about the fortune or the fate of the poet. He would say that they had seen that the poet in early in every early morning with fast steps would go up to the hill in order to see the rays of the sun, or in order to see the dawn. That is the rising sun, in order to visit the rising sun, and brushing the dews away from the grass. क्योंकि घास के ऊपर सर्दी के दिनों में ओस जम जाती है, तो उसमें से बोले पैदल पैदल तेज स्पीड से चलता हुआ हाई जो हिल है उसके ऊपर सूर्य के दर्शन करने के लिए वो जाया करता था. ये बात स्वयं जो है कि उसको जो नया जो कोई पोइट है जो इंक्वायरी करेगा उसके बारे में उसको बताएगा. ओके. He says that after his death, some old country poet may have a look at his grave, that when the poet was alive. So they had seen, he would reply that they had seen him at the time of the daybreak, that is early in the morning, going hastily to grassy hilltop, brushing the dew in the way. Or he went there to be able to have a clear view of the sunrise, so to see the sunrise and enjoy the sight of the rising sun. So this will be said by some farmer of that place to some other poet who will be visiting that churchyard in future. Now come to 26, stanza 26 of this poem. There at the foot of yonder nodding beech that reaches its old fantastic roots so high, his listless length at noontide would he stretch and pour upon the brook that babbles by. So the poet here, in other words, describing about his love of nature in both these stanzas. That is to see the sunrise, the dews, the grass, walking. These early in the morning. These all are the aspects of nature. So here poet wants to convey the readers that he is also a lover of nature. In these lines again he says, there at the foot of, so this swain, this farmer is now continually speaking and answering that question inquired or asked by the other poet, other person. That there at the foot of yonder nodding beech, the poet would go up to the hill, and there at the foot of the tree, yonder nodding beech, the tree which is reaches its old fantastic roots so high. So it's a very high tree, and its जो roots हैं they are also going very deep in the earth. So it's a very rough, very strong tree. And beneath this tree, the poet would take rest at the noon, in the noon. He would stretch himself fully, and there his listless length माने उसकी जो जो कंप्लीट है, माने वो ही वुड कम्प्लीटली स्ट्रेच हिमसेल्फ, और पूरी तरह से जो है उसकी परछाई दोपहर के अंदर जो है कि दिखाई देती थी. तो लिस्टलेस लेंथ यहाँ पे एलिट्रेशन है, साउंड एल साउंड. He would stretch and pour upon the brook that babbles by, and then he would enjoy herself. He would delight himself by hearing the babbling sound of the water of the brook that was flowing nearby. So here we have the picture of that hill where the poet used to go daily. In the noon he would rest under the shade of that tree and would enjoy himself with the murmuring sounds or the sprinkling sounds of water that was flowing in the river, in the brook. So he says that after his death, some country poet would record the fact that he and other people had seen the poet lying at full length, पूरी तरह से पैर पसार के, अंडर द ब्रीचेज ऑफ द डिस्टेंट बीच ट्री. तो बीचे ब्रांचेज जो हैं दूर दूर बीच के पेड़ लगे हुए हैं, उनके बीच में छाया के अंदर वो अपने आप को लिटा देता था पूरी तरह से. और वहाँ द पोइट वुड लाई विद प्लेजर अंडर द ब्रांचेज ऑफ द ब्रीच ट्री विदाउट केयरिंग फॉर ऑल that was going around him. So he would completely free from all kind of tensions, all kind of the things of the life, but would enjoy the nature entirely. He would care only for the music of the brook, the river that was flowing nearby there. So the poet would enjoy the music of that brook, and he loved the babbling and murmuring sound of the brook, of the river. So this is the music of the river that he would like to enjoy. Listless length in line 103 is another great example of alliteration. As I told you, here we have the picture of the roots. That is, all the roots are twisted and coiled. बिल्कुल गुथी हुई हैं, ऐसे वो हुई हैं और बहुत डीप हैं. They showing above the ground are also in As You Like It, Act 2nd, Scene 1. So there is also a description of the roots in As You Like It, written by William Shakespeare, the play, the comedy, Act 2nd, Scene 1. So this is only the reference of the roots, twisted and coiled roots. Here we have this phrase. So this is what about the poet himself. He is writing here in these words about his love for nature, about his life, about his habits, etc. So for now, this is what we have. In our new video, we will have another stanzas of this poem, and they are also all about the poet himself. In the last, we will have the epitaph that has been written by the poet himself, and he said in his biography that this epitaph should be written on the gravestone of him when he dies, and the same epitaph has been put up on his grave, and that is still there in England, in London. So thank you very much, dear friends. For now, see you.